When the history of the genocide in Gaza is written, one of the most courageous and outspoken champions for justice and adherence to international law will be Francesca Albanese, the special rapporteur on human rights in the Palestinian territories. Albanese, an Italian legal scholar, has held the position of UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in the Palestinian territories since 2022. Her office is tasked with monitoring and reporting on human rights violations that Israel commits against Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. Albanese, who receives death threats and endures well-orchestrated smear campaigns directed by Israel and its allies, valiantly seeks to hold those who support and sustain the genocide accountable. She lambasts what she calls the moral and political corruption of the world for the genocide. Her office has issued detailed reports documenting the war crimes committed by Israel in Gaza and the West Bank, one of which, Genocide as Colonial Erasure, I reprinted as an appendix in my latest book, A Genocide Foretold. She is at work on a new report exposing the banks, pension funds, tech companies, and universities that are aiding and abetting Israel's violations of international law, human rights, and war crimes. She has informed private organizations that they are criminally liable for assisting Israel in carrying out the genocide in Gaza. She announced that if, as has been reported, former British Foreign Secretary David Cameron threatened to defund and withdraw from the International Criminal Court if it issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, Cameron and the former British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak could be charged with a criminal offense under the Rome Statute. The Rome Statute criminalizes those who seek to prevent war crimes from being prosecuted. She has called on top EU officials to face charges of complicity or war crimes over their support for the genocide, saying that their actions cannot be met with impunity. She was a champion of the Madeleine Flotilla that sought to break the blockade of Gaza and deliver humanitarian aid, writing that the boat, intercepted by Israel, was carrying not only supplies, but a message of humanity. Joining me to discuss the genocide in Gaza and the failure by Western governments to intervene or adhere to international law is Francesca Albanese. Let's just lay out where we are in Gaza. It's very bleak. We can't sugarcoat it, especially since March 2nd.
Yes, Chris. This is not. So first of all, thanks for having me. Such a pleasure. Look, the situation in Gaza has gone so rotten, so horrible that I really don't have the words to describe it anymore. I remember that when I had the first reports about cases of starvation, it was last year, primarily in northern Gaza, which, by the way, is completely cut off our understanding of what's going on in Gaza, in the sense the misery that we see is in the south of Gaza. The north is completely obscured. But when I received the first reports on starvation, I remember people from Gaza saying, we are turning into monsters. And this is something that I hear more and more from people. The hunger is so much, it's so widespread, so profound, that is turning people into a stage of pre-humanity. And this is what happens to people who experience this brutality, that they are forced, they are pushed back into a space which predates civilization. And it's again, thinking that this is strategic, this is intentional from Israel. It's a stain for all of us. How can we let it happen? Why European states, why Arab states have not sent their navies yet to break the blockade? It must be done. It's an obligation, it's not an act of charity. They must break the siege. And it's already too late, you know. This is the situation in Gaza. It's devastating.
Well, this is, the kind of action of the flotilla with Greta Thunberg. Of course, they weren't going to get through, but it was an act of shaming in a way, an act of conscience, certainly an act of courage. Your voice has been one that has just been unwavering since the genocide began. And yet, at the same time, I think many of us who speak out against the genocide have to accept that we haven't been able to save a single life, and yet we must keep speaking out anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I often wonder what is it for? Because I feel in a way restless. I never stop talking about Gaza, the West Bank, the Palestinians, because I think I'm like many, I carry a wound right now. It's something that I would have never
Mm.
wanted to see happening again. I am also from a generation who saw the genocide in Rwanda, who read about the genocide in Rwanda. I have vivid memories of the genocide in Bosnia Herzegovina, and seeing the genocide of the Palestinian happening like in slow motion and being the chronicler of this genocide somewhat has made has irreparably wounded me. But it's okay. But the only thing is that my only form of healing is by making sure that people wake up and realize that this is carries the fingerprints of all of us. And when I say that, I'm not using an hyperbole. I'm real. I mean, it's real because when you see the profits that companies registered in Western countries and others are making out of the genocide of the Palestinians, you see, I mean, you lose hope in humanity for good. And it's true that we have not managed to save lives, but we don't know. We don't know, Chris, in fact, because I do believe that had Israel been left free hands, it would have already cleansed Gaza of the Palestinians. While in fact, by denouncing what Israel is doing, we are contributing to make sure that Palestine doesn't disappear from the maps. Because somewhat inside me, I have this sense that the sacrifice of the Palestinians in Gaza will continue. Will continue, really, will continue unless there is an arms embargo and unless the blockade is I mean, the siege is broken. And it cannot happen without coercive measures.